Yellhorn Podcast, episode 4 now, guys. Special guest today, gyrosean. What's going on, guys? It's going to be a great one. Again, we had LDF last week. Today we got gyrosean, so two great guests on the podcast. So super excited. Zach, I didn't think we'd ever make it to episode 4, to be honest with you, but
Neither did I.
It's been
There's no way. Like, no way.
It's been growing, though. People like it. I like doing it. And if we're able to get awesome guests like this every week, then it's worth it. So, Sean, what's going on, man? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Sean, gyrosean on YouTube. I haven't made a video in actually like a month now, but you work on little things here and there, and I think one thing that we've been chatting about is how the format is also just, it feels so stale. So yeah. I'm like, personally, but yeah, I make YouTube videos, and I also play Digimon, so I'm a trader. But other than that, that's just I'm just here chilling with Chill TCG and Zach.
That's what's up. Yeah, it's all good, man. I mean, we'll talk about Digimon just a little bit. That'll be interesting for some people, you know what I mean, just to cover it, because it's something that me and Zach probably don't know too much about, right? So I'm interested to hear about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that was a pretty good rundown of who you are. I'm not gonna.
Oh,
hold on. Oh yes. This is a big one. Yes.
This is the plushie for the podcast that I do, the Metapod. That's right. I think I'm the only Metapod stand out there right now, to be frank. Metapod.
I mean, honestly, if we could get like the Yellhorn dude as a plushie, yeah. I would totally like.
That'd be sick.
Maddie and I have a lot of personal jokes about that guy, and I mean, I don't know what happened to his face, but
yeah, he doesn't have a nose. Yeah, he doesn't have a nose, which we noticed, but he's actually on the graphic. So like on our overlay, Sean, he's like down here on the bottom left, like right next to you. And he's
oh yeah, I've seen the graphics, and he's just like
he's just
the horn.
Yeah, he's got the horn going.
Yeah,
he's
I will say you could buy some vuvuzelas or something like that, and then like fancy him up.
Is that what the horn's called?
Well, that's the South African version of the horn. If you watch the South African World Cup in 2010, that's what everybody hated, was the vuvuzela. But it kind of looks like that. I mean, it's just a generic horn.
Does that have two things though, or is that just like a weird Pokemon thing?
No, I think that there might be a double-ended horn, if you will. There probably is one. There's just lots of weird instruments, but yeah, I would definitely look into something like that. That could be, you could start a podcast like with the horn.
We could have somebody on like. Yeah, I know. That's what we talked about. It's just getting horns and just blowing them at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting the Kazoo Kid ripped.
Yes.
See, and Maddie's like, I don't know who the Kazoo Kid is.
I didn't know. I was
like, excuse me, like, under which rock do you live in?
I think that might be an age thing, right? Is that like a meme from a different era? And so
probably is.
That might be.
I don't know
our age.
I mean, I'm 22. I don't know how old I was. I mean, I remember when memes weren't a thing. You know what I mean? So if it was a meme, then I should have known about it.
Yeah, I feel like that one just like went over you because, like, I mean, I feel like Sean and I should know about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the younger kids know about every single meme ever.
They do.
But I mean, Maddie, have you watched Homestar Runner?
I don't know what that is.
So that's the whole meme you don't know. You know what that is, Zach? Oh, wow. Okay.
Dude, you're falling on deaf ears, bro.
So anybody out there that's watching this, Homestar Runner, Trogdor. Yep.
Oh,
that's. Wow. I'm just gonna say that, and then just comment in the YouTube.
Are you
burninating the peasants?
Are you just dating? Are you dating yourself right now, Sean? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, I am very much dating myself, but I don't care.
That's okay.
I bought a bunch of base set to fossil cards so that I could play the format from when I grew up. So that
sounds fire.
I'm dating myself for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like Boss's Orders.
Have you been liking those formats, or
I haven't played them. I got onto Jason Klaczynski's blog, and I took all of his deck lists, and that was my birthday present to myself, was to buy a bunch of old cards in lightly and moderately played condition to build based on fossil decks.
I mean, that stuff's still pricey, but as long as it's not like PSA graded, as long as it's not like super pristine, then it's doable if you really want to, if you can.
The PSA 1 Charmanders, the
PSA 1 Charmander, the half burnt.
Yeah, exactly. The one with the hole puncher that the kid wore around as a necklace.
It's laminated.
Jesus piece Charizard. I mean, I don't know. You gotta. I mean, it sounds fun. Those formats, like I played a few times with Jason. those formats at like NAIC or like even before at regionals, and I just like I could not vibe around those formats. It felt really weird. Like those formats are very, very, very weird compared to what we have nowadays.
Yeah.
Like playing haymaker decks and playing things like that. For me, the only like, and this is probably different for every single person. For me, like the only formats that I could really start vibing on is like when Nintendo took over. Everything else for me before that is just like, what's going on? This doesn't even feel remotely like Pokes. A lot of it's just like a weird, like, it's weird mechanics. They were starting off like,
Yeah, they were figuring it out, you know.
but
Well,
I don't know.
At the time, like there probably wasn't any other like trading card like game other than like Magic, right? I think that was probably just the.
I mean, they were literally owned by Wizards at the time, right?
Right. That was who made
So
trading cards, right? So
Pokemon was meant for the kids, and Magic was meant for the adults.
right, exactly.
And
It's
what I read on his blog actually, and one of the reasons that I think Wizards may have lost the license or it lost some interest in the older demographics, they limited the competitive scene to 15 and under at one point.
Yeah, that was how it was. Yeah.
Absolutely wild to think about now. I'm like, wait, so only the kids can compete and spend money on this?
Well, it's weird.
Okay.
It's
like
weird.
they
Like
had an Unofficial Worlds, right?
Yeah.
Like they had
Yeah.
an Unofficial Worlds, I think, in 2001, just because there was no Masters Division Worlds in, I think it was Seattle. Maybe it was 2002.
I think Seattle's
But
where
it's one of
the
those things where
headquarters is, right? The Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pokemon
Seattle,
company.
Bellevue, Washington area is where they're all located. But I mean, I guess that's where they had it, and they ran like an unofficial like side event that was considered Worlds now if you go back to it, but there wasn't even a Worlds back then. The first like Masters included Worlds was 2004 because the year 2003 did not exist.
04 was a big year for Pokemon TCG. I want to just touch on that last point that you said with like the people being 15 under, like that. Like in theory, you're like, well, I guess like whatever, right? But after a few years, like, what are you gonna like when all those people grow up? You're forced to add like a Masters division because the people that were playing your game for the last 5 years are now 20 years old and they can't play now, right? So that's just funny.
It's crazy in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the whole mentality was like they just like age up in their Magic, like and just switch games.
Right.
Like I remember I used to go to like stores and I look back and I'm crying because I've seen base set packs sitting on a comic book shelf in my lifetime. I've seen those fossil packs and I'm like, I could be rich AF right now if I just held on to a few of those. And like the card store owner's like, you'll play Magic eventually, kid. You'll grow out of this kid's game. And I'm like, I mean, I did dabble in Magic a little bit from time to time, but it's just like, Pokemon's the one that's like that's the addiction.
Pokemon is a weird game because it's like so much split between collectors and competitive players, and like in the public eye, like it's not a competitive game as much as it is like a collector's game, especially now with all the people opening these base set packs and these first edition cards and things like that. So it's just different. Like I know people collect Magic cards and they don't play. Like I know that's like a thing. But I feel like for the most part, people play Magic, right? It's like there to be played. I mean, a lot of times the card value is there for its playability, right? So, it's I don't know. It's just it's strange to me sometimes. I've never got into Magic. I'm interested in it. Like I think it's super cool. I just like don't have the time or the money or anything to dive into another card game. But maybe one day.
That money.
Need that money
is what it's the Magic world like.
Yeah. I know. I need that Black Lotus, man. I need the. I need it. I need it in my pocket, man. Well, you know what, Sean? I might be getting that. I can maybe spend that YouTube money. I'm just kidding. No, I hit I hit 1,000 subs on on YouTube.
Go! I'd say welcome to the club, but I'm still standing outside of the door being like, if anyone wants to subscribe to the Lone Blown,
Hey.
I'm out here, but congratulations, my guy. I'm jealous, I'm stoked, it's a whole bunch of emotions, but I'm so happy for you. I couldn't be happier for you.
Thanks, my man. I mean, we are on very similar like paths with our YouTube channel, me and Zach. I think I just started a few months before him, and that's just kind of how it works.
Well,
I
Zach,
mean, like,
Zach took like a very considerable break between some uploads.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, that's very true.
I'm an early sub, so I notice.
Yeah.
I notice.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think Zach recently got back into it.
grinds.
Yeah, and YouTube's one of those things where you have to consistently do it, right? And that's a big way to kind of keep building up. But yeah, it blew up. It's just blown up recently, man. It's super crazy. Like we hit 1,000 yesterday, and I already have like almost 50 new subs just after hitting 1,000. So it's really cool to see, and the tournaments have been blowing up too. So it's just been really fun. Like it's fun to see everything growing and doing well. Sean has blown both of us out of the water. So he's on that like third level. But
I'm on the level in between you and everyone who actually people know about, which is Little Dark Fury and Azul. But I'm still very much in that. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't posted in a month because I'm bad. But
you also have a real job in real life, though. You know what I mean?
True.
So
That's true.
it's different.
I haven't played Fortnite with you at 4 o'clock in the morning yet, Sean. So I think you're doing well in life. I feel like Maddie and I we ain't making it out the hood, bro. We're trying to get those duos wins at like 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like, I have to be quiet. My wife's asleep. And I'm like, okay, Michelle's a little bit more cooler than that. Maddie's wife is probably lovely, but I can be as loud as I want. It's all good. Yeah.
Spellbreak yet? All of the sponsored videos I'm seeing from creators now are Spellbreak. That's the new Fortnite.
Spellbreak?
No,
I haven't seen it.
Spellbreak.
Yeah, Spellbreak. It's a battle royale wizard-based game.
Oh, is that the one where they're shooting the spells? You know?
Oh yeah. Everybody has spells. And they're all spellcasters, and
I've seen that.
So I think the name of it is Spellbreak, but I watch a lot of YouTube. So
me too.
All the sponsored videos this last week are all, I think, that game.
Hey, let's get on it, Zach. Maybe
we might be good at this one.
Maybe we can get some dubs in that game because.
Yeah, exactly.
Lord
get those
knows.
early noobs out of the way.
Yeah, Lord knows,
pawn them or pwn them, whichever it is. I mean,
we're way behind on the Fortnite scene, man. It's tough. It's a rough world out there in Fortnite.
We play with Gabe Smart, and he comes up with all these like cool like kid terms, and he's like, "I'm collecting my mats," and I'm like, "Homie, what are even mats?" Like, and then he's just like, "It's material, stupid."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Damn, I'm getting roasted by my teammate in Pokemon in Fortnite, and I'm playing casually." Gee. But I mean,
yeah,
for real. Yeah, he goes a little bit harder than most.
He's a sweat, as the kids say.
Yes, he goes full zoomer on us in Fortnite, and then I don't even know what's going on. So
cranking 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Enough Fortnite talk, man. We got to get away from that. Zach, can you go ahead? We're so professional here. Can you pull up that list of topics that I put in our group chat, please?
Yeah. So I think today, like, for anyone who's listening, you can probably jump to different points, and if you're jumping to different points, just to hear Sean talk, because who wants to listen to Maddie and myself? I mean, I think it's one of those things where today on this podcast this week, we're gonna go over tournament results in the past week. In the past week, we saw Chill TCG show us that they are rich. They got that bank. So Maddie, he didn't only run one $300 tournament. He actually was involved with running two between Chill TCG and GGToor. So I mean, they were pretty big events. 350-ish range for both.
Yeah.
And I mean, both $300 given out for the prizing.
Yeah.
So that was cool. There was some couple new decks out there. So I mean, I'll let you open up the floor, Maddie.
Definitely worth talking about. Yeah. So we started off on Wednesday. This is one that this one's very interesting. And I actually, Zach, now that I mentioned it, I kind of want to mention our new tournament structure that Sean came to my rescue on Twitter at one point to help me explain it. Which I thought was like, when I explained it, I thought it made total sense. And like, I literally posted the math, like I did addition. I went back to my 6th grade days and I was like, I can do math and I'm going to put it out on Twitter for all these people that can't understand. Not to disrespect them. I just like,
there are some people who didn't understand. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think it's disrespectful. You got a little bit of, I don't think you got heat over it.
No.
I just think that people just like, people like throwing nonsense and no direction. And I mean, anyone who posted there, I think there was some nonsense thrown. I'll just be out. I think Jake Earhart got in there, was talking about Luke Metal and stuff like that.
I knew he would.
Was talking about some biased decisions.
Yeah.
And it's just like, anytime there's anything that affects Luke Metal, I could post anything in a video. I'm like, I'm taking code metals. Jake Earhart's going to be there. It's like an SEO in everywhere.
Yes.
Like, you just toss a Luke Metal tag in there, Jake Earhart's going to be there. No flames at all. I mean, I think Jake Earhart's actually a great player.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, I know he gets memed on a little bit, but it's one of those things where, yeah, Luke Metal is a thing, whatever. Jake Earhart's awesome. I'll let you continue.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, the Luke Metal players definitely have strong opinions, so we'll cover that in a bit. But Wednesday's tournament was the Chill Series 15. It was a special, like, mid-season event. We didn't really have any sponsor, but we kind of pooled together some prize money. So for the Wednesday tournament, we had 250 cash on the line. The winner got $100, but we also threw in 300 Vivid Voltage packs on top of it, so it was like a good mix. So people in top 8 got some nice cash prizing as well as some packs. But people in top 16 and top 32 also got a good amount of Vivid Voltage packs too. So everyone, a lot of people were getting prizing. And our tournaments have gotten so big lately, guys, that like we do 9 rounds of Swiss, which is 30 minutes, best of 1, and then we go into like a top 32 cut, which is best of 3. And because there's so many players, you need all those rounds to make it fair, right? To give everybody a good chance to make it into cut. And the tournament goes super long. So what happened was after top 16, it was about 12:30 at night. We had about 3 more games left to go, 3 more rounds. We had top 8, top 4, and finals. And all of the people who had gone into top 8, or a lot of them expressed to me that they were very tired and that they just weren't able to compete any further in the tournament. And I kind of got everybody together who was in top 8. I talked to them. I was like, hey, are you guys available tomorrow? Like, if you need to, like, we'll move top 8 to Thursday night. And everyone agreed, luckily. So the tournament was too big. It went for too long. We had to move top 8 to Thursday night. And we've never done that before. It's supposed to be a weekly tournament series, but recently they've just been getting too big, right, to, like, fit it in one night, especially since we started at, like, 6 p.m. So Thursday we finished up the tournament. And we saw a lot of great players play. I believe we saw Michelle Babin. She was playing Coalossal. I can pull it up right here, just so I'm not talking out of my butt. But
yeah, we had Gabe Shumway playing Desi Goons. I mean, there was a lot of. I thought it was pretty cool. Like the top 8 players in particular were fairly stacked.
Yes.
Because like Pedro's one of those heavy hitters, not only in the online world, because a lot of players just like they're online players that you only know from online.
Pedro's been successful.
But I mean, Pedro is one of the absolute, like, I'd say he's easily top 10 modern players in the game, and that's without question. I don't think anyone would ever be like that's wrong.
Yeah,
like everyone probably has him in the top 10. Gabe is very huge on the online scene.
Very.
And I mean, I think an all-around player. Michelle more like, obviously I have a bias. That's my girlfriend. That's my wifey and partner.
Great player, though. Great player. Had a great run.
She's been tearing it up lately. I mean, we talked about it. The Online Players Cup 2 win. She has won more money online than I have. And I mean, like, even like Ian and Rob and stuff, like
great
player. Like Ian Rob has multiple regional wins, international top 8s.
Yeah.
Just honestly, one of the, like, I in high regards. I think he's a really great player. Andrew Hedrick, like, just those are only a few players that I can mention out of here.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Hendrick, like one of the best Blounds players in online events, so definitely great to see him show up as always. And then if we get like outside top 8, Zach, which we should hit at least a little bit, we had people like Ryota Sato. He's just great online player from Japan with ADP, one of the best ADP players. We had Zach Cooper, again a great online player. We had Zach Lesage at number 9. We had Azul GG at number 10. The tournament was just stacked in top 16, and it was definitely like super cool. 2 decks specifically that I want to talk about that kind of popped up that were new. Of course, Desi Goons was super cool in the finals to see, but he played against Pedro, who was running a new version of Centiskorch. I don't know if you guys have taken too much of a look at that Centiskorch list. Centiskorch has evolved a lot, right, guys? Like, in the past couple months since it came out, it's a lot different than what it used to be. Now people like T Brophy are really taking, like, ability Centiskorch to another level with, like, Giratina, Mark Shadow, all these different techs in the deck. But Pedro was like, you know what? A big problem with Centiskorch is if I don't get those bosses consistently, and if sometimes I get Marnie down and I dead draw for a few turns, it's really going to be the game. And Centiskorch struggles with that. He thought, you know what? I'm just going to put Silvally into my Silvally GX into my deck, a couple copies. Overall, give my deck some consistency, some draws every turn. And actually, I believe this deck was like a Robin Schultz creation, Zach, or his brother.
Yeah, I think he definitely got some help from the Limitless squad. Like, Pedro plays for Limitless. I think they just all collectively come up with ideas, and sometimes you just pass on a list to the home slice. Maybe they're they don't really play too much in the weeklies. I think Robin dabbles in a lot of the expanded events, and he's like very intrigued by that lately.
Yeah.
I think Pedro is really the only one out of their group that's playing super actively in the standard events.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're all, of course, all of those guys over at Limitless are fantastic players. They're all very busy, maintaining and creating the platform that we all use on a weekly basis. But yeah, I mean, Pedro's list that he used was super cool. We don't see Centiskorch win a whole lot, like just typically like in the past few weeks. It's been all Peak, it's been all Eternatus. So it's just definitely super cool to see Centiskorch win, Pedro win with this new version of Centiskorch. Now, some people have some opinions on this new Centi list. They don't know if it's actually better than like Ability Scorch. But a lot of people are saying, well, Pedro carried that deck. But a lot of people are also saying, no, that deck is very consistent. It's very good. And whenever we talk about new decks and things in the meta, I like to turn it over to the competitive, the guy over here, Zach Lesage. So give me a rundown a little bit of your opinions on this new version of Centi.
Okay, so when I was playing in the tournament, it's one of those things where when I saw playing, I saw Michelle who's sitting right beside me playing, and we saw the Centiskorch. So obviously we knew we had to play again. She had to play against it at some point.
Right.
So we were both looking at it and being like, okay, this is where it's at. This is what's going on with the deck. So we analyzed the deck fully a lot just to see if we could help her improve her matchup, because she actually played against Pedro in the top 4.
Right.
Losing game 3 just barely,
man.
And it's just one of those things where I think the deck's really cool. I've definitely been a person who's played fire type Pokemon. I've been a person who's played Centiskorch. I played Centiskorch at my Players Cup run, so I understand how the deck works in general. One of the biggest issues with just fire type decks in general, or welder type decks in general, is that your opponent can Marnie or Stamp you. You have nothing going for you. They knock out your Pokemon. They're like, the ball's in your court. You have no court. You are falling down an infinite black hole. So I mean, the first thoughts are Silvally kind of solves that. I mean, I think it's fine. The only thing is you just don't have anything great to promote. I think what you get for in a great mid game, you lose in that Jirachi engine, or you lose from having Pokegears or anything like that. Because everything,
right.
To anyone who doesn't play Pokemon who somehow stumbles on our podcast, you only have 60 cards in your deck. It's one of those things where you don't necessarily, you can't necessarily play every single card you want. Everything comes to a cost. And I mean, I think the deck worked well. Is it kind of like the flavor of the week?
Yes.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've necessarily had enough testing time with that particular version of the deck. I'm going to put that on my to-do list this week.
Right.
And I'll make it. I mean, I think Centiskorch is just one of those things where Centiskorch is a very good card. I even remember back in the day, I was talking, Sean was the one who convinced me that Centiskorch was a good card. I wasn't even going to print off the proxies for it. I thought it was terrible. And I mean, here it is, almost a year later, winning events fairly regular. I mean, Cash, Thomas Brophy, now Pedro. I mean, there's a lot of people who are just because Cash and Thomas do not get the love of the whole community. I mean, I don't want to be they're middle tier players, but they're not the heavy hitting toward Reclive, Pedro kind of type players. And I mean, I think Pedro right now is showcasing that Centiskorch is a good deck. And people are like, oh, Centiskorch is a good deck. All it takes is the sheeps are out there watching.
I agree. Sean,
I don't know, Sean, what are your thoughts? Have you looked into it at all? Or
I'm looking at the list now, and even though I haven't been playing as much, I still keep up a little bit.
For sure.
For me, I don't know. I agree with you. This is clearly an addition for consistency, and so that you don't brick, basically, or brick in the mid to late game with Stamps or Marnies or whatever. My question about it, though, is you're running 3 Day-Days, a Crobat, and 2 Silvallies, which you can choose not to put them down. But I do wonder if Pedro playing this version was a response to a reduction in ADP. Because I don't think that this version, because I think the nice thing about Ability Scorch that Cashman and other people were playing, and the reason I think it did well against ADP is you could choose not to play the Dedenes and the Crobats, or just play one, right? And then the Volcanions and the Giratina and all that stuff, all of that would benefit you in the ADP matchup. because of
whenever
and
you're
and this deck doesn't do that. And I'm just like, I think ADP probably over the long haul probably eats this deck's lunch.
He played against one and was able to beat it in the early rounds.
Yeah.
I looked at the name of his opponents. I don't know them at all. I've never heard their name before. Maybe I have, and I'm not trying to diss you on the podcast. I mean, hella love to everyone, but it's one of those things where, I mean, I think anyone could get over any matchup one time in best of one.
Exactly.
And it's not like, if it was a best 3 out of 5, I'd be like, okay, now. Like, that's something we need to look at. But best of 1, stuff happens.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say that's nice about it is because you're running, I mean, 3 to 10 feels even like a lot. Maybe I'm like, I don't play a ton of Centiskorch, but 3 feels like, I feel like 2 is on the average.
3 is a good amount.
Yeah, you're running 3 to 10 and 2 Silvallies. And so that makes the Cherish Ball super valuable. As opposed to like, you don't really have maybe one of those, or, you know, you really don't have a lot of Cherish Balls in Centiskorch otherwise. And so it makes your Cherish Ball, and by virtue of that one being more valuable, the Pokemon communication more valuable.
Right.
Because you can Cherish Ball and then Pokecon, whatever. So yeah, I think it looks like an interesting list. I don't know if it's necessarily that much better. I think I personally still prefer Ability Scorch, because the Giratina getting rid of the Coating Metal energy against the Luke Metal, I think, is way too valuable.
It's way great. It's so good. I mean,
yeah.
And, still don't even know, though. Like, I don't even know if that changes it from being a good matchup to a bad matchup, though. Like, I think it's one of those things where, like, I honestly don't know how much testing Pedro put in there. Like, I don't know about you guys. Whenever I enter an online event, I'm going with virtually 0 testing. I'm going with hunches. I'm throwing whatever I feel like against the wall, and if it sticks, it is. Otherwise, I'm 0-2 dropping and eating Uber Eats.
It's funny you mentioned that, because when I was on stream watching Pedro play through the tournament, he was telling me that he had never played like Scorch before. So like, he didn't know the matchups, he didn't know anything like real, you know what I mean? Like, obviously he knew how to play because he's a great player, but like, he's not a Centiskorch player, so like the whole matchups and deck list was new to him. And I think in a sense that might have kind of helped him, right? It didn't get too much in his head. With like, you know, overthinking some matchups and stuff. He ended up playing against Centiskorches, like mirror matches, a lot throughout the tournament, which kind of also hyped up this new Centiskorch build. But I think for the most part, it was him getting, you know, drawing some cards, like being pretty fortunate, which I think that deck helps with, and just sort of overall being a good player. But one thing that like I noticed with this deck is like it's consistent draws, right? So like every turn drawing 2, 3, 4 cards is fantastic. But like without Jirachis and without some of the other techs, like it's just a little bit strange, because of course he's got Volcanions, right? So it's a deck that you want to go second, right? You want to start off, go second, get your Volcanion, get your 1-2 punch, and your great start. But when you're going first, I feel like this deck really struggles, or I would think it struggles more than like Ability would, where, you know, you can get that Jirachi out on the start. You know, you can find the cards you need. Disagree?
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like this deck struggles to use Volcanion in general. If you look at it from like a Jirachi thing where they have all the scoop up nets and they can kind of stumble their way over any obstacle that came to their hand.
Right.
I feel like if Pedro has a rough hand, he just has a rough hand and deals with it. And kind of just like going back, like backstepping a little bit. I mean, I think maybe it is true what you said. It's kind of interesting how you're like, if Pedro had never really played Scorch before, it might be like when a chess player plays against a chess player who's never played chess before.
Yeah.
And they just make random moves.
Right.
It might be very hard for people to predict. So if someone in Centiskorch actually, like, who knows how to play against a Centiskorch matchup, it's one of those things where Pedro might have made mistakes along the way that were actually advantageous to him.
Right.
And it's one of those things where, I mean, Centiskorch is not the hardest deck to play, let's be real.
No. It's linear.
It's 40 plus 40 plus 40. Like,
in the early game,
I mean, if you can count in 40s, you're okay.
Yeah. I agree. I think in the early game, it's like just as linear as like something like E-Turn or ADP is, where you look for those cards, you look for your hot start, and then from there you kind of direct. I think right now, and what a lot of people saw was, especially in mirror matches, but like overall, Senti it's just always smart to set up a second one on the bench, and at about 3 or 4 energies, start splitting between your resources between your 2 Sentis on your board and the active and on the bench. That always just seemed, whoever was able to do that always seemed to just get the win. The math would work out, especially in the mirror match, and that's just one thing I want to note from watching the stream. For all you Sentis out there who probably already knew that, but as someone who I don't play Senti, I don't know.
I think in terms of, Zach, you mentioned Michelle would have to play this deck. I assume that she played against Pedro.
Yeah, she played against. I think
top 4.
We were overlooking the kind of thing in the top 8 or something, and she's like, "Well, I'm like, you need to get past Andrew Hedrick, and that guy definitely knows what he's doing with Blounds."
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think it's a favorable matchup, and here's like, and I gave her like why the rundown of why it's a favorable matchup, and she's like, okay, I think I understand. Went and did her thing. I actually had to step away to do some coaching at the time, and I was like, let's come back and kind of like step back every 10 minutes and be like, see how she's doing. She was killing it. And then I was just like, we were like looking over for the Centiskorch match. She played in the top 4, yeah.
Because I was going to say, I actually think, it may be that to your point about this deck being a new style, and then it thus, you don't really know what the right way to play your deck against it is. And Coalossal also being a deck that is not as meta as much. I stand Coalossal as well when it came out, but it clearly hasn't been like that popular.
Yeah, I agree.
But now with Zach and Michelle and the recent success it's seen, but I think that Coalossal, if you have the right build and get the right draws, I think Coalossal also has a good matchup against this Centiskorch VMAX, because you have 3 2-prizers that are weak to fighting, and you can one-shot them for 1 energy.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about that for sure. I mean, of course, this new Senti list, it's hot. It won. We'll talk about it. But the other deck that I wanted to mention was this Coalossal deck that Zach and Gabe and Michelle and Danny helped with, or whatever the whole testing group was.
It was really just like Gabe, myself.
Yeah. Okay.
We were testing it. We talked about it before. I was just like, yo, there's that Funny Bunny tournament on the Wednesday. And I mean, there's something for me, like, I know the name's kind of funny. The name's a little bit childish, but whatever. It's a tournament before. It gave me a pre-tournament before Chill.
Yeah.
And Maddie knows I'm like, I want to play in a Chill event. I've literally never played in a Chill event. And it's one of those things where it gave me, like, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to take Wednesday off. I can get 2 tournaments one day. Let's go for it. Gabe and I really came up with it, brought Michelle into it. And she was just like, okay, gave a little bit of feedback, whatever. And I mean, the whole idea is just like, I think we're in a hyper-focused metagame right now.
Yes.
Where nothing is real anymore. I think that's what's opened up the cracks for something like Centiskorch Silvally to come to the top. Do I think Centiskorch Silvally is a real deck? I mean, it won an event. But do I think if this was a regional championships, if in real life play was continuing on, this would just be... I don't think it would exist. I don't think anyone would ever get here to the format. Pedro would probably just be running Pikarom.
Yeah, right.
They'd just call
right,
it a day.
Right, exactly.
Pikarom is clearly the best deck in formats, and that's a fact.
It is a fact. I will tell anyone that straight up. Like,
but now we're in a world where I'm getting bored on a Wednesday, so I come up with the hardest Pikarom counter in the world. And I mean, I don't want to be like I came up with Coalossal. I didn't come up with Coalossal. I played against a similar Coalossal list. To lose in a tournament like last Sunday or something like that. Like, I saw the Mimikyu idea from someone else. I just did it slightly better. And I mean, I was able to come finals at Funny Bunny. Gabe made top 8. Michelle did not play in that event. And then we played in the cash events. Gabe fizzled out. I came 9th. Michelle came 4th. And then even like as late as 4 hours ago, at the filming of this podcast, I played in the Funny Bunny tournament. I made top 4, and Michelle made top 8 with another new version of the deck.
The Coffee
because
Cup.
ADP was banned. Yeah, Coffee Cup.
Yeah, sorry.
Vixen's tournaments.
Yes.
Check out their tournaments if you're not into a true standard, I'd say. Like, it's one of those things like...
Yeah, or if you're on the other side of
if you're a little bit odd, yeah, or the other side of the world. I mean,
right.
that makes it a little bit easier. Like, I'm a madman for playing Pokemon at 3:30 in the morning and whatever, and trying to continue my Sunday on as normal. But no, Cole's just I don't know, I just had a hunch that Cole is really well positioned nowadays. with
It is.
Pikarom being huge. Pikarom for a lot of the tournaments leading up to this past week was the
E-turn
number
as well.
one played deck, and kind of like ADP is like took a notch down.
Yes.
Eternatus also kind of took a notch up.
Yep.
So you had Pikarom, Eternatus, Welderish decks.
Yep.
And then it kind of fizzled down into like everything else that
Zacian.
just exists.
Yeah.
My honest thoughts on Coalossal now, to anyone who just straight up, I feel like Colossal's a slightly better Luke metal, and I might change my mind on that. I think that it has a very significant matchup spread. Like, I think I'm 6-1 against ADP in tournament or something like that now. So I mean, I feel pretty confident in the matchup. Most players who are playing ADP nowadays are not necessarily the strongest players in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So not to say they're easy pickings, but it's not like I'm playing against Pedro Torres, and they're playing to every single out. A lot of players are playing on autoplay, or a lot of players are just running off stock lists. Stock lists don't typically have stadiums. Wondrous Lab can just tear their deck apart. The Centiskorch matchup is weird. I don't necessarily know if I'm comfortable or not. I don't even know if I want to go first or second in that matchup. Like, I have so much HP that I don't even know what to do with it. So even if I let them go second, maybe me getting the turn 1 energy is advantageous. That's like where my testing is going this week.
Yeah. Very interesting, actually. That's a very good point.
But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to weigh in. Like, I haven't thought about it more than Volcanion going second seems scary. Like,
it is.
I'm trying to think about the math, right? If you let them go second, assume they have the best turn Centiskorch has ever had, right?
Yeah, like 3 and 2 on their first turn.
So they get 5. They can get 3.
That's 240, and then another 3 energies would be 360.
Which is not enough if you have buff padding,
or if you have double stone.
Yeah, double stone.
I wrote like a pretty like long continued tweet last night. And I was like, I don't think buff padding really matters. Now in that case, with Centiskorch's popularity, it might matter. But the thing is, like, the only play, like, Michelle lost to Pedro, which, I mean, I think Pedro's a fantastic player, and
could have gone either way. I was watching
earlier
stream
this morning.
It could have gone either way.
Yeah, I honestly believe that matchup could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I played against a few Centiskorch throughout, and I was fine. She played against Centiskorch, I think, even earlier in Top Cut. She was fine. And then I lost against Cash. So, I mean, between Cash and Thomas are easily considered the best Centiskorch players, where all they do is live, eat, and breathe Centiskorch.
Yes.
It's just one of those things where I feel like if they know what they're doing with Centiskorch, I'd say it's slightly unfavorable at this point. I used to think that it was more favorable than that. But I'm going to work on the matchup this week. Everything else seems really good. Like, you lose to Luke Metal and Desi Goons because you don't really have any counters towards that. But you do auto-win Pikarom, and you do auto-win Eternatus. You do have a extremely favorable matchup against Blacephalon, Cracephalon, Welder Toolbox. I think you have a favorable matchup against ADP. And Centiskorch isn't even that bad. You also auto-beat, like, Mad Party if they don't play a stadium.
Yeah, right. Good point.
So it's one of those things where, like, in change their decks, I think Cole is easily tier 1. Like easy tier 1. I got 4 top cuts out of 4 tournaments in the past week, 2 of them being 350 person tournaments. A second place, a top 4 here or there at the small, like, Funny Bunny and coffee cup tournaments. But I mean, even Michelle went 2 out of 3 for top cuts. And I mean, I'm one of the bigger players in the game for sure. Michelle, she knows what she's doing in Pokemon, but no one would be like, she's a Tord Reklev-esque player. I mean, for her to get a top cut at a 350 person event coming top 4, and even at the Coffee Cup, it's pretty huge. So I mean, I think Cole is like the real deal. Anyone who says otherwise is probably playing it wrong and doesn't know how to sequence with the Guru properly.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of, like, it's weird.
It's consistent. I think, like, your list, like with the phones, the Guru, there's a lot of consistency with it, and it's a deck that I like. I also like the fact that Coalossal, like, accelerates to itself after it attacks, like Centiskorch.
Yeah.
But I think overall that fits better in a fighting type deck. Like with Scorch, like, it's cool because you want to stack energies, but you also have things like Welder, so it just doesn't feel as, like, important. But with Coalossal, like, getting 2 energies attached every turn on a fighting type Pokemon like that with a lot of bulk is huge, because how else are you going to do it? You know what I mean? And I think that really puts the deck over the top. I guess
It also feels just like new to play. Like,
Yeah.
that's one of the things. Like, I know before we were talking about it, I was like, I'm addicted to Pokemon. I'm so like, I think the format's so stale. Sean was like, Zach's playing cold just to stay alive, and I mean, I kind of feel like that.
And
he's got to
Right,
feel
I feel
something.
like that's exactly like
I,
where I'm at.
It's not a bad thing.
I just if you like Coalossal and you want a version that isn't Luke Metal E, because I know that's also like a playstyle thing.
Yes.
I would seriously look into a B build. That was the very first build of Coalossal I did.
Fast
Because
pace.
you can also make your Decigoons and Luke Metal matchup a little bit better because you can play Aurora Energies and Zamazenta Amazing Rare.
Right.
So you can hit 180 and then they can't block you out with Decigoon.
Yeah, and I've seen that strategy. Yeah. Overall, I think like whenever you play a really fast paced stick like that, it's sometimes a little bit like less consistent in the long game. But like you get those games where you're tearing it up, which is exciting and it's fun, right? So, just two sides of the same coin, you know. That's a super cool idea. What's up?
While we're talking about things last night, earlier this morning, I played against an Orbeetle deck. I wanted to let you know about this. And I feel like I'm super tired, everyone. I'm not under any influence of alcohol. I'm stumbling on my thing. I'm like, I played against Orbeetle.
Careful what you say here.
It's one of those things where, yeah, exactly. No, but it was Orbeetle wheezing. I thought it was, I don't know, like, I've seen a few, like, YouTube thumbnails, and I'm like, screw Orbeetle. I think that deck sucks. I was so hyped about it, and it just did not do anything at all. But I know that you are an Orbeetle stan, and I mean, it was close. Orbeetle probably should be Coalossal, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, anything is possible.
Bro, the problem is, and what people make the mistake with Orbeetle is they play it with Ampharos, they play it with Weezing, they play it as like this, like just this, like they don't commit is my thing. When I play Orbeetle, I go straight Orbeetle. I throw some Snorlaxes in there. I do a 4-4-4 lineup: Snorlax, Orbeetle V Max. And I just go straight consistency, straight Orbeetle, man, and I just go all in. I don't even run Dedenne. I don't even run Crobat. I just do it. Straight
I dare
up.
you to run it up the Funny Bunny this upcoming week.
I will. I'll do it. I'll play my own tournament.
Does everyone hear this? If Maddie does not play in the Funny Bunny, I don't know. Come up with a punishment.
I don't know. Yeah. One thing I want to touch on, I forgot, like as you guys were mentioning it, when you compared it to like the new Luke Metal, I really like that comparison. I think that the decks have a lot of comparisons, but to me, I do think that Coalossal has a better spot in the meta right now. Its matchups are a bit more fair than Luke Metal, and to me, Zach, I think the only reason that Coalossal didn't just win these tournaments the last few weeks is because they did hit a Luke Metal, in those Zamazentas in Top Cut, and I think right now if I'm playing Luke Metal, I'm just thinking, I don't know. You know, I'm thinking Luke Metal's a great deck, and so is Coalossal. I don't know if that would be my first choice. No disrespect to Luke Metal, but it's not something that I would personally choose to play. But
I mean, I just think that Luke Metal is going to get it's kind of hated out of the formats because as the format grows,
it's a Zacian deck.
After your Chill series, there was the Chill Series 15, cool, Fire type 1, and then we had I don't want to jump ahead too much because we didn't really talk about the GGToor Chill whatever
Showdown.
But Showdown. I mean, there's a bunch of names I can't even whatever. I mean, I know you changed your name a few times for the 15, like almost there and all that stuff. Whatever.
that was funny.
Yeah, I noticed that. Anyways, but then you had Centiskorch do well at that event, winning that event, and then we had the Edge
spoilers
events.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, we're talking about Luke Metal right now. Let's just be real.
Facts.
We had Centiskorch win that event, and even at the Coffee Cup, we had Centiskorch win that event. So out of the 4 events that like were kind of whatever, Centiskorch did very well. I think Centiskorch also won Danny Stone series as well.
I thought as well. Yeah. If I'm not wrong, it was a hot week for Scorch, man. And what's interesting, and we'll talk about the GGTour tournament again. It was 311 players. But the big takeaway was after that win at Chill on Wednesday, or Thursday, actually, technically, it was all Scorched, man. If you look at top, here, I'll take a look. So if we look at top 4, there were 3 Centiskorch that made it into top 4, with 1 Eternatus. And then if we go to top 16, there was like 3 or 4 more down there as well. It was just sort of the hot thing, and also I think it just revitalized the people who play Scorch a lot. People like T Brophy and Cash who were like, you know what? Like they got fired up. No pun intended. They were like, Scorch, like Pedro just won with Scorch. Like I'm the Scorch player out here. You know what I mean? I got to put in the work, and I think that they did that on Saturday for that redemption yesterday, actually, as we record this. But one thing I do want to mention. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. The new tournament structure that we talked about with Sean and stuff about the Twitter and everything, we tested it out on Saturday. So like I said, like we did on Wednesday, instead of doing 9 rounds of Swiss, top 32, what we did was we did 2 phases of Swiss. So we did 8 rounds of Swiss, and then we did 5 after that. And the timers were reduced from 30 minutes to 25 minutes. And then after that second phase of Swiss, we cut directly to top 8. So it was a different structure. Overall, when things went quicker. I don't know. We just tried it out. Well, something we'll probably try next week at Chill. But yeah, man, Centiskorch just ran home with it. In the finals, we saw a ability Centiskorch T Brophy versus a Silvally Centiskorch, which was I think it was Nico Fernandez. And yeah, so again, you know, as we were just talking about which one's better, they played on Saturday in the finals, and T Brophy got the win with ability Scorch. So what do you guys think about that?
That's no surprise to me.
Yeah, me either.
I think the ability one is better. You have less 2 prizers on the field. I don't know. It may not matter, because if you're doing the prize math, right, like Centiskorch VMAX, if that's what you want to knock out,
yeah.
And if you're going to go Centiskorch VMAX into a Heatran or maybe into another 3 prizer of some sort, then maybe it doesn't matter. But
right,
yeah,
I think I think the Jirachis and the Heatrans were big in the matchup. It's hard for me to remember, but I think that overall Thomas just had more. He felt more comfortable in the matchup, in the Ditto matchups. Whenever you see a Centimirror, it's just like which big fire snake's gonna slap harder. You know what I mean? It's kind of just how it is, but.
Someone's got to win, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, again, this tournament, I don't have much to really talk about. It was a Scorch Fest, and yeah.
So did the tournament end up being shorter? Did you time it?
It was tough for this tournament, because with this tournament, we take multiple breaks. So, like, when we did when we went into phase 2, we took like a 15-20 minute break. Before cut, we took like a 30-minute break. And then when for top cut for the GGTour tournaments, we stream every match in Top Cut. So
you have people wait for every match that you can stream it. Got it.
So it's tough overall. I think if we were to play like on like a Wednesday night, we would probably not do as many breaks. I think people would probably want to try to wrap it up. But I think overall, definitely the Swiss stuff went faster than if we were to like go all the way to top 8. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think.
That's why I made the comment. I was like, breaking it down to an 8-round, 25 minutes a round thing. I think the tournament structure you're talking about benefits the most people. The most, meaning like the fewest number of people are going to make phase 2 and then top 8. So if you are like, well, how long is the event? Yeah, I know you don't want it to go to like 4 a.m. or 3:30 or whatever.
Yeah.
But the change in the structure too also just means that if you don't end up making phase 2, which the majority of people won't, then you should be wrapped up by about 10 p.m.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
Like, that's actually very reasonable.
Right.
If you're like, I'm going to enter a 300-person tournament, I got to commit to like not sleeping tonight. No, odds are I'll be done by 10.
Right. And it's kind of.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree. It's just different. You know, we tried to make it as fair as possible, but everyone's going to make their comparisons to doing the second phase of Swiss or 2 rounds of best of 3. But we just tried to make it a bit shorter and a bit more fair for people, or at least as fair, right? And it's tough. Whenever you're a TO, you're going to have to work these things out. But over at Chill TCG, we just have an incredible group of staff members, admins, TOs, players, people that are really helpful and helped us kind of get to that point. But we'll still probably make tweaks to it and everything. So
yeah, I was basically going to throw that out there. I was like, with the way that I think a lot of players can all grumble about how standard is. I mean, in your tournament, I lost to a Pikarom player somehow. And because like I was playing Coalossal, I lost to a Pikarom player because I dead drew for the first 6 turns of the game somehow. And I mean, it happens, sure.
On PTCGO, it
and
happens.
even yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and then in the next phase 2, I lost to a Lightning Mew, again an auto win matchup, because I just sat there dead drawing, and my opponent got a crushing hammerheads to win the game, even when their Mewtwo had damage on it, to hit me for perfection and knock me out. Super cringy losses to me is like I rage dropped because there was nothing I could do. I mean, maybe I could have made the graphic, maybe I could have got some Pokestats points. I was just like, I'm out of contention for top 8. There's no prizing beyond whatever.
Right.
I don't need pride. Whatever. Do you feel like it would be better though? Which I mean doesn't change anything about me. I guess I probably should have mentioned it, but I think 5 and 3 might be better to advance instead of 6 and 2. And my only reasoning is like there's a lot of BS losses nowadays. Like maybe you didn't check in, or maybe you just hit Luke Metal twice and you're playing Eternatus or whatever. It's just one of those things where I feel like 5 and 3 is the same threshold, and you still have a chance to make top cut if you win all 5 of your next rounds.
Do you think that like maybe like a 5-2-1 deal, or do you think 5-3 is?
I feel like if you put it at whole numbers and discourage IDing, you get more of a fair event.
Yeah, I agree.
You'll run into some players who like are slow. And I mean, I feel like we need to filter out slow players in our events. Like, I know that, exactly. I know there was a few players who got some gameplay warnings for like, there's people who are egregiously stalling and misplaying. There's cash on the line. There's going to be people doing light forms of cheating, full forms of cheating, whatever. It's one of those things where I just don't think in a world where X3 makes it, ties are going to become a full-blown thing. I think there's a lot of players, even like in your event, like, you notice these oddities when X and whatever makes cut and people are like 6-0 and then they start IDing. I'm like, why are you IDing?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. Like there's a lot of people that just like, it seems like they've never been to Pokemon. It's like if an alien was trying to play Pokemon or an alien goes to like a restaurant, they're like, okay, I've read this about it in the regional championships book. And they just try to emulate what they see. I mean, I think, I just think 5 and 3 would be a better threshold. And it also gives some up and coming players who maybe haven't had the opportunity to make top cut at a 300 plus person events.
Right.
I think that if you gave them that free artificial prize, they'd feel a lot happier about it. I mean, it probably makes the tournament slightly longer for you. Just because you have more players playing phase 2 per round, and you have a chance that you get the dreaded Desi Goons Luke Metal matchup. But I mean, you could also discourage them for playing those decks as well, like you did with ADP.
I agree. I think if we do like you said the 5-3-0 or sorry the 5-3 in phase 1 of Swiss, I think that makes it better overall for the players to get into phase 2, which in turn brings more people farther into the tournament, gives them more of a chance. But I think what that does is it raises sort of the discrepancy with phase 2 to make it into top 8 cut, because if we have 70-80 people in phase 2 and then we cut to 8. It's a little bit more fuzzy at that point, but again, it doesn't make it any less fair. If anything, it makes it.
That's how regionals work. Though.
Exactly.
Like,
I agree.
When you get into the 600 plus range, that's how you get it. But I mean, I think we saw it at the tournament with Thomas Brophy. I mean, if you didn't read about it on Twitter, Thomas started off the tournament, first round loss, win, loss, and then proceeded on to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yep,
9 in a row. And I mean, I feel like even if we look at like one of my biggest accomplishments in the game, which was Collinsville Regionals, I was playing Blacephalon. I went 5-0-4 to advance to day 2.
Yep.
Just barely met the 19-point threshold, and then I won. I went 5-0-1. And I mean, if the threshold if it was the same 7 and 2 like it used to be at regionals a while before, I would have not ever had the opportunity. Right. So I just mean like
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
I guess kind of going back for myself, when I was playing in your event this week, I was 6 and 2, and this was actually your first chill, so I mean the thing wouldn't work. I was either in a win and in for making day 2 or for making top cut, or so if I lost, I get absolutely nothing. Nothing exists. And by winning, which I was forced to play out to win, I came 4th seed. I just think in a world like that, I mean,
That's
people
crazy.
are more willing to play the games.
Yeah.
I think players are just you offer more to the community that way. I think
For sure.
there's going to be someone there who's you're going to make their week.
Yeah. No. Listen, I totally agree with that. And I think it's in the works. It's something we test. We test. We evolve every week. We try to figure out the best sort of strategy for sort of the ever-growing and the ever-changing, online scene in these online tournaments. One thing I do want to bring up to you guys, which is a little bit of a less fortunate topic, but it's something I want to cover with you guys. And I don't know if you guys knew about it. I didn't publicly announce it, but somebody in Phase 2 on Saturday yesterday for the GGTour tournament, they were at their winning last game of Phase 2 to get into top 8 cut, and one player when he was playing his opponent, he was at the point where he was going to lose. So he was at the point where he indefinitely was not going to win his match. I mean, he began trying to bribe his opponent with online packs, with various things to try to get his opponent to give him the win to make it into cut. The player did the right thing, called the judge over, and let us know. We issued that player a loss, and subsequently was out of the tournament. And never heard from him since. As soon as we kind of just got rid of it, he was gone. I don't, if this was early in the tournament, he would have gotten dropped anyway. But this was the winning in, so we gave him the loss and he was out. But I haven't seen him or talked to him since. But I wanted to get you guys' opinion on that. And Zach, again, as somebody who's played in IRL events, have you might have seen something like this in real life if it happens. I don't know, probably not.
Some stuff that goes on. No, there's a lot of online tournaments. I know you and I have talked about it. When I'm playing in the Funny Bunny or even your tournaments, I think that your Wednesday tournaments, especially coming from yourself, is a super generous prize pool of $300. The community stands you for it.
Yeah, I didn't get anything.
If you break it down in terms of the amount of hours necessary in order to win $100, I mean, I could clock in at McDonald's and probably make more money.
You smoke.
So I mean, it's not it's not like you go into a regionals weekend or an internationals weekend and you have a chance of making $10,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of things where the travel and the time off does not make it worthwhile either, but I'll just be insane. There's a lot of people that are really pushy with their IDs in those round 9 scenarios, and there's a lot of players who, because Pokemon's also offering you physical packs at that point, which have a value. You can't sell your PTC Geo packs. I've definitely been offered I'll give you a box, or how much does it take you to buy for this win? I need money for a stipend, things like that. They're there. Sometimes I just nah, I'm not let's just chill with this right now. I don't want to talk about this. I did not hear that kind of thing. Other times, people get under my skin and I'll bring it to a judge. I mean, I think at the end of the day, bringing it to the judge is correct. I think that's the best thing that you could possibly do.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, in online events, is that a loss? Not that I've bribed my opponent. It's one of those things you're not an official event. At the end of the day, if someone said yes, or even if by offer, I think offering, it's kind of awkward it's how many online packs could you offer me for a win before I even blink at it?
It's
it was. I just want to know
Yeah, no, in this scenario, it was a bit different. I mean, with our events, of course, we follow the standard format. We try our best to just emulate a normal official league cup in a sense, just a tournament. For PTCGO or Pokemon TCG. So in our sort of rule set, we wouldn't allow it. And the scenario was a little bit weird where the guy played. He had all intention of trying to play and trying to win. And once he knew he was going to lose in the middle of the match, he tried to get his opponent to scoop for him by bribing him. We weren't okay with that. Personally, it's not something that I would have I would have given him the game loss. I don't know if I would have dropped him from the tournament. Maybe if he did it in other rounds, I would have been hey, don't do it again. You're gonna get the loss. You know what I mean? It's just not something that we want to endorse in the community and in our tournaments.
Sure. No, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't know what you could
Yeah.
We're talking about an unofficial tournament, no stipends, no nothing.
Yeah. I know. That's the thing too. It's he was bribing him to potentially win $10 or potentially $100. That was the range And
Sean, what are your takes?
yeah, let me know.
I mean, I agree with Maddie in that, like, the idea of offering somebody a bribe for these tournaments, like, I get it. I don't even know if it was for the money. I can't predict
Right.
what this person is doing it for, but some of it may just be like, hey, I've never made top 8 at a big event like this, and it's a big deal for them. And I get it. Like,
Yeah.
there's an element of, like, you really just want that accomplishment, right? But it's not really an accomplishment if you bribe somebody, one. So,
Exactly.
two,
Exactly.
I also just think that, like, even if it's not, like, it's, like, ethically, like, it's not that horrible, to be perfectly frank, at a grand scale, right? It's
No.
not a ethical, but at the same time, it's also just like, don't put your opponent in these awkward moments where they have to say no. That's, for me, it's less about the pure like how competitive the tournament is, and more about, like, it's almost a courtesy to your opponent to not put them in that position to be like, I don't want to have to say no to you. Like,
yeah,
ultimately $100, to Zach's point, you make more money with that amount of time working a minimum wage job. So
right.
most people aren't doing this for the money. So
yeah, sorry. For me, to me, my biggest point, which like immediately ran through my head, was like, if this were to get out, if I would allow it, then like, what's to stop people from literally just paying their way to first place at every tournament? Like, if somebody were to come in with a crap ton of money, a crap ton of codes, and every round in top 8, he was like, I'll give you 100 packs. Like, just give me the win. And then just 300 packs later, he's just won the tournament and he didn't even play. Like, what's to stop people from doing that?
You accept their deal and you're like, man, those were Hidden Fates packs. Damn. I got bamboozled.
Yeah. You leaked my next YouTube video. Pay to win.
Pay to win.
So yeah,
Laserbeam, like a YouTube channel. He does like Fortnite stuff.
No.
There you go. But he does like lots of. I could easily see, like, to your point, like, there could be like a Logan Paul type person out there who comes in and it's just like, I'm gonna stream and I'm gonna make a whole video about the fact that I bribed every single person to become the best Pokemon player in the world one day.
So that's why, it's kind of like the principle of it, right? It's like, I just don't want that to be a thing in the community, and that's why I'm a little bit scared to talk about it here. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where you're here to play. There's not a lot of money on the line. If as much as you might think a top 8 at a 350 player online tournament means a lot, it's just a game. It's an online tournament. Most of these people got pretty lucky to get here anyway. So just play it out, and try not to pay for success. I don't know.
It's really, like, at the end of the day, I think it was all explained that it's like a really awkward encounter for everyone involved. Also, while we're speaking on awkward encounters, I think, I don't know if you still do it, Maddie, or if it's just like an online tournament thing in general. When someone checks in, I've seen a few like circumstances where someone forgets to check in, the game gets played out or something like that, and at the end of the game, the player is just like, oh, I didn't check in, and then it's just like, it's up to your opponent to take the win from them. How do you deal with that? I haven't fell into that situation, but I think it's one of those things where, like, I've seen a few awkward situations with that from friends.
Yes. So for me personally, like, what I used to do was I understand that. So like, I would be like, listen, like, it's supposed to be a game loss. Like, I know you played and you were here, but like, you have to check in. It's just like part of the rules, and it should be a game loss. But oftentimes what I used to do is be like, hey, if I would just say, like, if you guys want to count that match, like, you do that, right? I mean, I'm telling you right now, like, you can take the win. It's up to you. But that puts that player who did play in one in a weird position.
Yeah, there's a guilt thing in there, right?
Right, and if they lost, right, so and then they get them in a weird spot. For me, what I do now is I DM those people. So like, if they played and they lost and their opponent didn't check in, I just DM them and I'm like, do you want that win or do you want to count it? Like, just tell me straight up, so they don't have to handle that with their opponent. And then I just say it out to both of them as if that were my decision, which doesn't seem like a.
I mean, I guess that's fair. I think it's still like a bit of. I think the same way. Like, if I don't know. I just think that's one of those things where, my opinion, it's just better to
just give them the
like black and white. Give them the win. They didn't check in. Something happens. If they have some kind of like limitless glitch, whatever, maybe have a heart or something if they actually played it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if a player plays, they have the intention of playing the game. That's cool.
Right.
But I don't.
For me,
it's just
and oftentimes it's a bit different because we are the Chill series. We're Chill TCG. So as much as we like to say healthy and competitive, it's like we did. Like, if somebody if somebody were to there's a few different scenarios. Like I'm just trying to think. Like we don't take things like too super serious. Like I know what happened a few times was some people click the wrong deck when they send their challenge. So like when they go into the game for the tournament match, they're like playing a theme deck or something. And for me, like in other tournaments, they might just give them the automatic game loss for doing that. For me, it doesn't seem fair to give them a game loss when they just click make one misclick and they go into a game, but they haven't played any cards. They're just they're immediately like, oh, oops. So what I do is I have them replay it, but I make sure that the person who misclicked gives the coin flip to their opponent, because it's at that point, if your opponent did win last round or they didn't, it just kind of brings it up in the air. So that's what I do in those scenarios, which is again a very gray area. But as the Chill series, I just don't want to give people the loss for clicking wrong once.
That's a very reasonable penalty though, to be like, hey, I know you misclicked. We're not going to give you a game loss. Just you just give your opponent the option to choose whether or not they want to go first.
Yeah.
Honestly, if Pokemon is really balanced, which is what they should be, right, with the new supporter rules, etc., it shouldn't make the biggest differences in the world.
Right.
Yeah. That's a
putting
a huge asterisk on that one, but
the one thing I will say though about the checking in, and I actually, if it is a good segue into what I hope the future of online events is going to be, I will say that how in a game state, in a regional or in an actual competitive setting, it's up to both players to ensure that the game state is stable, or whatever the phrasing.
Maintained.
Right. They put that responsibility on both players. And so I do think there's an element that if you check in and and your opponent sends you a thing, just check to see if they checked in. Because what I've done multiple times is I remind them, hey, it looks like you didn't check in. Just go check in real quick. So I think that's one little bit. But then outside of that, I do think it's fair to, in certain circumstances, tell your opponent hey, if you didn't check in, I'm going to give you the game loss here, because if you're going to play the Players Cup or other events,
right,
check in too. And that's just good behavior. It's that's a good habit to get into.
For sure. For sure.
And
I have a funny scenario, Sean, now that you mentioned that. We were in Chill Series events, we don't run check-in. We don't do check-in for top cut matches anymore, and here's why. For the after 12 tournaments, Chill Series 12, somebody forgot to check in for their top 8 match. I never thought it would happen. I just I never assumed it didn't happen for 2 months, and all of a sudden one tournament some guy didn't check in, but they played. So they played. He played, forgot to check in, but his opponent knew he didn't check in, so he played out the match. But he played out, but knowing that if he were to lose, he had that card in his back pocket he could play. And it was a very
free card. Got him.
Yeah, and it was a very strange scenario, because I was like, you didn't check in, but why are you guys playing? Because his opponent was trying to kind of play it smooth, you didn't. Oh, I guess you didn't check in, but he knew he didn't check in. They played it out. The opponent who didn't check in got the win, and it was something we had to deal with, right? Because he didn't check in, he got the win. Does it stand? Does it not stand? Long story short, we don't do check in for top cut anymore for that reason.
I think that's fair, especially there when you're we all know you played. You all but yeah, earlier rounds. And that to the segue, the one thing that I think is really interesting is I think you talked about it last week with LDF, which was what happens to online tournaments when IRL competitive play comes back. And one thing that I briefly suggested on my pod a few weeks ago, which I want to talk about with an actual TO, right? Of an online event, big online event, is I think that Pokemon should, because we know they're never really going to update their client to include proper regional style tournaments.
Probably not.
It's very unlikely.
No.
But what Pokemon could do is they could, allow online event TOs to become official or licensed or whatever, and then grant them, once a month maybe, of like a between a regional and a league cup level of CP, and
Like a
say,
special
okay,
event, kind of.
yeah, kind of, but it's an online event. So,
Okay.
and what they do is they say, hey, we Pokemon, we don't run it the same way that Pokemon doesn't run regionals, the same way that Pokemon doesn't run league cups, right? And it's just, but you sanction certain TOs. They have to go through whatever the process is and make sure you have the right judges.
Yeah.
And you run it through Play Limitless, which is already a well-established. And then if they didn't run it through Play Limitless, I think if you're familiar with how the team challenge is running through arcanine.labs.gg, which is a whole new service that Arcanine has launched, that could also be another service if they really want.
I mean, I think Arcanine and Pokemon are a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Carlos and Dana, I'm sure, are faithful with themselves, and they have their home slice Chris there. But I mean, they're definitely in bed with Pokemon in some capacity. Like, they're at every single event, and I mean, they're absolutely crushing it. Arcanine has definitely changed. Like, I know that I've been playing Pokemon since like 05, and it's one of those things where like I remember there used to be times where there was like Twitter online pairings, and I could check from my phone because the TO was tweeting them. Like, I'm talking back in like 2013. Like, we're like, I feel like I'm talking about black and white TVs to my kids right now, and I'm talking about like how cool it was that they like took tweets and put them on like an old school projector, like at these like state championships and stuff like that. So I mean, Carlos and Dana and Chris and everyone at Arcanine Labs, they're just doing a great job. I mean, I haven't participated in my team challenge yet, or I just got pushed back to this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
Congratulations for making it, Sean. I saw on Twitter.
Heck yeah.
Crushing it out there, man. It's for a guy who's just been playing Digimon, you're
Not
pretty
bad.
good in Pokemon.
I was gonna, I have been playing a lot of Digimon. In fact, my best tournament result is Digimon, not Pokemon. I got top 16 at basically the national event for Digimon, the official event that they did.
It's huge though. You take those.
That's
honestly,
sweet,
just
dude.
like
Heck yeah.
But if they did that, if Pokemon were to approach big TOs and say, hey, you know, and I wonder for you, Zach, like, you know, if you minimize it so that you still require people to buy online cards to actually compete at a high level long term. But you say to people, hey, we recognize that this is a whole new way of playing that has taken off.
No, and I think it's one of those things where no one knows what a post-COVID or kind of post-COVID world looks like. Like, I think most major countries, the most important countries in the world, have access to vaccines in some capacity. Like, I know Canada's pushing. Like, I think there used to be a point where Canada and the US were like, Canada's getting pretty screwed right now too. Like, COVID sucks. And it's one of those things where I don't know if I got vaccinated, do I want to play in a league challenge tomorrow if that was an option? Probably not. Like, I'm the type of person that, like, I think 10 years from now, I'm still going to be wearing a mask in the grocery stores because I think germs are gross. And, like, it's just one of those things where, like, I actually like wearing a mask. I think it's great. I talked about it a few times. I just think that point, like, when I play in a Pokemon tournament, I'm going to wear a mask going forward, even if it's not a requirement. I've been deadly ill after regionals. Just be like people with their grimy, dirty cards and hot dog stained shirts and all that stuff. Like, I feel like that's where coronavirus got invented. If anyone wants to make any jokes, like, have you ever been to a Comic-Con? Have you ever been to a regionals? Like,
oh no,
come on, bro. What's in the Doritos, Locos, tacos in a bag, bro? But
dude, true, dude.
I don't know.
True.
Like, it's honestly cringy to me. But I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, I think online events have to blend in with in real life play for the like the foreseeable future, regardless of anything. Like, I think Pokemon has created an infrastructure with the Players Cup that I really hope. I mean, I've talked about it before. I hope there's a Players Cup 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that we continue to have like 1 to 2 Players Cup a year, even when we're having a full blown season. I mean, they just put them on a League Cup weekend where it's not important. Don't overlap it with like a regionals or an internationals or something. But it's one of those things where for players who want to play from home, for players, like, I'll put it like this. Hugo Lapp is a player who made top 4 at the Players Cup. The only international championships I've ever seen Hugo is from NAIC. And I mean, most players who live in North America go to NAIC. That's why it's super populated. But I mean, just having the opportunity to be like, I'm playing Pokemon in Brazil. I mean, we could even look at players like M. Taylor, for example. Roarchomp. I don't think Roarchomp would have ever flew to Brazil to play Pokemon. That's to me, like, you could kind of put players in a box. They're not a Pramawat of the world. I mean, they're getting they're doing well because they came second in internationals, but that wasn't the most expected finish for them at that point.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where it's awesome. It's a life-changing thing to play Pokemon in a different continent at such a high stakes level. And I mean, I've been fortunate enough to play Pokemon for the better half of 3 years at that level, 4 years at that level. But I mean, I think the Players Cup giving players opportunity where they don't have to drop a few $1,000s to compete at that level is awesome.
Yeah, I think online is important. Like it's an important outlet. And just like the Players Cup is an important outlet for the people that like to play in those big official high stakes events. Even though there's not like a lot of money on the line, there's a lot on the line. And as well for the people that like to play in their locals or their local league cups or regionals, where we might have that sort of an outlet for them online as well, every week or every month or whatnot. So I think the online scene's important. Make sure your cat doesn't jump out of the window, Sean.
Oh, it's fine. The window is closed.
Okay, cool.
It's only 30 stories down there. I think the cat lands.
I'm in a basement now. I used to be higher up, and I'm in a basement now. So it's
It's all good. It's all good, man.
Here,
just looking out for your cat, bro.
Apparently, on the Yellhorn podcast, we only get people who are in basements nowadays.
I mean, that's why I have all this space, because I'm in a basement.
Hey, the basements are where it's at, bro. It's always nice and cold in the summer.
Yeah, basements are a little bit cooler. I'm a bigger guy. I sweat. I'm sweating all the time. Basements are amazing. I wish I had a basement.
For sure.
I do not have a basement right now, but I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, like Sean, unless you have anything to cut the floor, I have nothing really else. I think we kind of covered.
Yeah, we went over. We covered more topics than I thought we would, which always kind of happens. And I was super happy with all the things we touched on.
Yeah, I'm super excited too, and I'm excited to hear y'all's thoughts on a future episode about all the battle style stuff. So
yeah,
plug
future episode. The hope and saviors of the game, please. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'll talk about it for 1 minute. I just think battle styles. I'm crossing my fingers that starts a new era of Pokemon. A lot of peeps nowadays have not played in the Delta species or the Team Magma Aqua or Team Rocket. Battle style seems kind of like that and more. I mean, I have a bunch of ideas for hypothetical cards where it's like this one's single strike and rapid strike. It could do both, right? Like, there's a lot of gameplay mechanics that they can really do with it. I know that I think it was Stefan Ivanov on Twitter was going off and he said that it's kind of like a fake mechanic that Pokemon tossed us. I'm fine with fake right now. Like, I mean, Picarom's cool. I know what I like Picarom. It was good to me. But you want to know what? It's one of those things where online Pokemon sucks sometimes because the format's so stale. I think I would absolutely be loving online Pokemon if the pandemic happened 3 years ago.
Right.
When our game had a heart, when our game had a core. And you want to know what? Maybe it's just like you want to know what I'm saying this right now? Maybe if I played Buzzrock and Deciplume for hundreds of events for the better part of a year, going into a full year within a month or so, I think it's one of those things where I don't know. I just don't know if it's because we all play too much Pokemon. The format gets really hyper-focused. But I mean, Battle Styles looks like it's a light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, we have to kind of laugh that Shiny Fates is coming out in like a month. And I mean, if you're a collector, the Sakai's a joke. That set looks busted. I can't wait to drop my whole life savings. I can't wait to pull out the second mortgage on the house and not tell the wife for Shiny Fates.
Dude, seriously, man. Seriously, I mean,
like I don't know where collectors get this collector's money, but if you're a collector and you want to be featured on the podcast and let us know where you get that kind of money, for sure, please let me know, because y'all are dropping. I'm watching you guys ripping up Walmart packs. Like, I go to Walmart's and I'm like, man, do I want to pay rent this month, or do I want to crack open an ETB if I ever found one? And it's just like, and I see these pictures of people with shopping carts with like, I bought 100 ETBs. Like, homie,
it's like,
I will say,
the card's gonna get declines.
Ditto V in the Shining Fate set. I feel like Ditto V is gonna have lots of potential for a year or two.
I like Ditto.
You know the ability of Ditto V?
Yeah.
Like, that's one card that I'm like, I don't know if right off the bat, but that one
gets better with time.
Keep my eye on it.
Yeah.
But like right now, for like our current standard format, like I'm looking at the set and I'm like, if you could ask me to drop a lemon in a bucket, that's how I feel like this set day one is going to affect our game. Like, do I think that someone's going to come with some kind of like evil, tall, amazing rare deck and put that in their deck day one? 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel that's just so they can feel alive, like Coalossal, right? Like, I think anyone who plays anything out of that set day one is just playing it just to play something new.
Yeah.
The same way that all these sets kind of go down. I mean, if you're not a collector, this set's probably not for you. There's some cool cards for sure. I mean, don't sleep on the 10 or so good cards from the sets.
Did you see the alternate arts, though, for the Urshifu VMAXs? Dude. Bro, those are the coolest cards I've ever seen, bro. Like,
they're beautiful.
Yeah, they are. I don't know how we're going to get them.
Out there. Is it the Clobopus, I think?
It's the one where...
just like flip.
Yeah, well, you should look it up. It's so... The Rapid Strike one looks way cooler. He's like meditating under he's giant, meditating under like a waterfall or something, and there's like a bunch of these like Cramorants flying around him, and like he's like there's like a little Clobopus going flying. Yeah,
that's the one.
Oh my gosh, dude.
A+ whoever designed that card. I like the creativity.
Top tier, man. And I would be cool if Pokemon cards looked like that. Not to get into a whole new topic here, but like I feel like they fall into a formula. Like VMAXs are super cool, but like each one looks almost identical, just with like a different Pokemon there, right? Like the style, everything, it's like completely the same. I wish they just kind of just completely went off the rails and like made just all the cards look completely different. I don't know. That's just me. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter.
We'll see how it goes. Well, I mean, they'll come out with new cards. I mean, I kind of, unless there's anything else anyone else wants to talk, I guess, Sean, we'll just leave it to you if you have any shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out everything.
Some slops, some props, some slops, whatever you want to
plug it.
Toss out there, my guy.
Plug.
I mean, yeah, gyrosean on YouTube and Twitch, and if you like Digimon, if you want a different game that isn't Pokemon, and if you like the Digi stuff, gyrosean Plays is my other YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I'll link it all in the description.
Yeah, that's all I got to plug.
Right. Okay, Sean.
I mean, keeping it easy.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, I mean, we can wrap it up if you guys want to, but yeah, I mean, just huge shout out to gyrosean, man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know. Like you're somebody like when I first came on to the YouTube scene, there was somebody that I like watched and somebody that I like appreciated, and I reached out to you, and you did actually help me cast like Chill Series number 4 or something, which was phenomenal, and I had a great time.
I remember I helped you cast one of the early Chill Series, and it's funny, I also helped cast one of the early Hexter events.
Yeah,
I think it was the first Hexter event where they got over 100 viewers, and because they got a raid from like Azul and a couple of people, and Ethan was also like, what's going on here? It was
if you're gonna be big in Pokemon, Sean's like gonna be there somewhere with his like little puppet master hands.
That's my Colbert bump, I guess. Is like just
he's just the puppet.
He's
master
surrounded by success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't stream like for our Chill Series tournaments anymore, Sean. Unfortunately, I would have brought you on multiple times. It's just something hard.
I'm an old man. If you're gonna be streaming at 2 a.m., I'm
like, nope. Exactly. That's what it's like now. Yeah.
This guy's not even reading the message until like 7 o'clock the next morning.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, big shout out to Sean, guys. Definitely go check him out on everything that he said there: Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. gyrosean Plays on YouTube as well. Go check him out, and yeah, we'll wrap it up here.
Get Zach to 1,000 subs.
Yeah,
now.
check out Zach. The Lone Blound.
Please, if y'all want to be generous, please.
Yeah, the
Lone Blound. I'm here starving. I'm not let into the club. I'm like, I feel like one of the kids who's like 20 at midnight, and I'm just like, man, I really wish I could get into the club with my friends. Obviously in a post-COVID world, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, anything helps.
But yeah.
Spare some change, please.
The Lone Blound on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all of them. Definitely go check him out. He makes really good content, like based around the competitive content about decks and deck lists, how to play them, matchups, and everything like that. So if you're looking to become a better player at a higher level, then that's definitely a good place to go and learn. So, all right, guys, y'all hold number 4. Let's end it here. Bye.